So the two basic arguments is one, as you said, it creates over 30,000 jobs countrywide, but at the same time it's also undermining profitability and the value of local companies such as Checkers and Shoprite, which are also big in the country in terms of prices and how much they can compete. And considering Walmart is such a huge entity, they can drop the price to a particular level. How can we see the benefit of that in the long term as well as the negatives? How do we balance out the two? That's basically my question.
Excellent question. Well done. Right, Walmart. Everybody loves to hate Walmart. Walmart is, we call it still known as Massmart in South Africa, and it is a member of the chamber, of our chamber. So in the first 10 weeks of, let's talk about Walmart. I'll call it Walmart for ease of reference. The first 10 weeks, they created 15, they announced they're going to create 23 new stores with 15,000 jobs. And they're on track. They're going to do that in the first 8 months that they're here. Okay? They've sourced 60 billion rand of local products, locally, which they've promised to do. They started a supplier diversity council, which was going to work on training up, particularly little black businesses, to source from. And then our three government ministers, Minister Patel, Rob Davies, and another, I forget who it was, went to court and tried to get Walmart thrown out. So guess what? That little council that was created and that it started training has now stopped because the court has said that has required certain things. All right? So when you say to me, Checkers and Pick and Pay are going to battle, I agree with you, but the consumer is going to be the ultimate victor because they're going to enter into price wars. And they're going to have to change their value chains, their logistics to become more competitive. So I think it's good because it's not only Walmart sourcing everything from China, trust me. I was in Woolworths the other day and they were offloading boxes. It's all from China. You know, and it worries me immensely that, look at our Olympic uniform. South Africa has now asked, our Olympic team is going to wear a uniform created by China. This is our Olympic team, you know, South African. I don't know, you know. So yeah, huge issue. And that links me to China. China is a huge issue. Both on the African continent, but some of you know better than me. But in South Africa, if you go to the smaller towns, you will find 6 to 8 little Chinese stores in a single road. The problem is, folks, they are putting businesses out of business that have been in those towns forever, for years and years. That's the first thing. They're going out of business because the Chinese can source things very cheaply. Secondly, most of them are cash. Question is, do they pay it back? You don't know. Third thing is, they sleep in a room at the back of the shop. So guess what? They're not contributing to the taxes that keep the town running or anything else. So it's become a huge problem because little towns need as much income as they can get. So, but our government, because of BRICS, our government likes China, so they're scared to say anything. You can disagree with me. I would love you to disagree with me. It means you're thinking.
And if you do get employed, are you specifically like an employer, like if you are employed in South Africa, it ends in South Africa, or does it afford you the opportunity to maybe go to another Nike and, I don't know.
Yeah, all the companies have got interns, all right? Now, they will only employ like the top 2. You know, they won't employ all of them. The top 2, 3, 5, I'm giving you I'm just giving you a figure. So obviously it's the cream. It's the person who comes early, works late, gives of himself or herself, all right? Must say, don't worry, I'll do that. Let me do that. I'll fix that. I'll do that report. That's the kind of person you're looking for. That's the first thing. Your second part of your question was, if they employ you, you've got to go up the ladder before they send you anywhere, because you represent them, and you've got to have certain skills. So it takes time. All right? Does that answer your question? It takes time, but you will get there. If you're a good employee.
Can you get attention before actually graduating, or it starts as...
No, not before graduating. No way. Working is full-time.
Since you are the executive director for American Chamber of Commerce in South Africa, I would want to know, why, from what you just said and from what I already know, why is it so difficult for most of the American companies, say if they come into any, say, African country, they will maybe come with their preconditions, no, we need to do this. But I just want to make a comparison with the Chinese companies. Whenever they come, they will usually just accept the conditions that are being offered by the hosting country. So I want to know, why is it so difficult for most of them just to adhere to the conditions of the hosting country? Let's say maybe they say we want you to sell a certain amount of shares to us, then just what?
Brilliant question. Okay. America is the only country in the world, sorry Scott, that is permanently at war to create permanent peace. Okay? And they've got certain morals. Like in the beginning when they announced the first PEPFAR program, that was the President's Emergency Program for AIDS Relief. This was President Bush, and he gave millions of rands to South Africa when the AIDS epidemic was at its worst, before we had antiretrovirals. Okay? And they said 3 things. You have to abstain. I don't know if you guys remember this. Be faithful and condomize. There were 3 things you had to do. Now abstain. This is America saying people must abstain from playing around. See, now a Chinese company will never say that. But America's got these values that they adhere to. American companies, when they go into Africa, they are constrained by what we call the FCPA. Financial Corruption Protection Act. We all just call it the FCPA.
Yes,
It's a very, very onerous piece of legislation. If you go into Africa and you even hint at making a bribe to get business, and the Chinese are like this all the time, you will be fined by the American government. And you won't just be fined, it's millions of dollars. So all the American companies are very scared. Scott, be any other?
Yeah, it's again, it's not only that they'll take you to court, they'll take you to federal court, which will become headline news. It will kill your entire reputation. And that reputational risk is just too much for American companies to take. So if they're working in Angola, for example, they want an oil contract, they say, well, we want cars or we want a hold full of cash. They could do it, but if they find out their company is going to take a huge hit, it's really, the risks are too great. Where China, they'll be willing to take those risks, but it's maybe with some of it because it's linked to a state, to the government. But the legislation is extremely, extremely strict, and companies do not want to take that risk.
So does that answer your question? Linked to the morals, yeah?
I've got 2 questions. The first one is, how does Microsoft pick the 6 companies that you talked of? And also, as a graduate, how do you have any pointers on how to become an entrepreneur?
An entrepreneur. Okay, Microsoft went through a very rigorous process. They invited all the small little companies to apply, and then they went through an interview process. It was very fair, very just, and we in fact also put the word out because we wanted as many people to come forward as possible to make sure we got the 6 best. They got the 6 best. We work very closely with them. To become an entrepreneur, folks, is hard. The first thing you've got to do to be an entrepreneur, you've got to find a business idea. What is an idea that is needed in the country? You can't just say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and then it's going to happen. You've got to find that idea that you can make happen. So look around you in your communities, in the business world, wherever. And if you can find the idea, I promise you, you will probably find, if you can draw up a good business plan, which I'm sure being at university you're going to be able to do, and you go to try and get finance, you are going to get it. I promise you, you're going to get that finance. If you've got a good idea and a good business plan, you will get the finance to roll it out. But you've got to know what you're doing, number one. Number two, that idea of yours is critical. Don't get an idea to become a courier service. Because to break into that, into the courier service, you've got to have trucks, you've got to have warehouses. So it's huge money. You've got to find an idea that is small. And please don't become a tenderpreneur. You want to be an entrepreneur. Everybody knows what a tenderpreneur is. Yeah, we want you to be entrepreneurs where you grow a business, create jobs, get rich yourself, and bring a lot of people with you. Difficult to find. I'm currently working with a young girl who's found a niche in the internet. She's found something that everybody will use, but she's struggling to get it going. I can't tell you because you'll steal the idea, but she looked around, she found it. Okay, so you've got to think, how can I make this better? How can I change that? That's your thinking all the time. And that is where most of us are going to find jobs. But you see, we're not all in entrepreneurs. I'm happy to go to work and get a salary. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. But the difficulty is, if you don't get a job, you've got to be an entrepreneur. You've got to start somewhere. So just everything you see or do, you've got to ask, can I do it better? Can I do it better? Can I do it differently? Those are questions you must have in your mind all the time. Right, yes.
I just want to know, do you think that foreign investment, much foreign investment in the country can make the state government more irrelevant?
So to make
more irrelevant, or say more insecure, in the sense that if there's much foreign investment, the government does not have much say over the developments that is supposed to take place in the country.
Okay, you see, when foreign direct investment comes into South Africa, let's talk South Africa, they have to comply with the laws of the land. The labor laws, that's why the unions who helped Walmart got egg all over their faces. You know that expression? They were made to look stupid. Because in America, they don't have the labor laws we've got. In America, you do something wrong, you're gone. In South Africa, you've got to go through processes, and it's a huge thing. We can't just cut people out of the business. So the unions from Walmart, from America, came to South Africa, and they funded our unions to fight the Walmart thing. Now, when companies come in to South Africa, you have to comply with every single law in the land. You can't just comply with the laws in your land. If you're in South Africa, you've got to you treat it exactly the same as the checkers of the world. Okay? You're no different. Does that answer your question?